Hi guys, how you doing? My name is Maaru. If you're new to my channel, welcome aboard. Thank you for subscribing or just choosing to be here. Today's Monday, which means that we are going to be launching our mental health Mondays from today onwards. And this essentially means that every Monday you can look forward to a mental health related content every week because it's important. So Mondays are for those mental health related issues that we all encounter, especially in the South Asian communities around us. Today, as promised, I'm going to be discussing trauma. I mentioned in some of my videos last week that I will be doing a video on trauma, and it is very close to my heart. The first thing I want to disclose, I guess this is sort of like a disclaimer. I am not a mental health professional of any sort. Whatever I'm about to tell you and talk about in this video are based on my own personal experience, and so therefore don't treat whatever I'm about to say as facts, and that I highly recommend that you do your own research and go away and read on material that might be relevant to you and your own life experience. And I will be having mental health professionals joining me in my channel later down the line, and that is also something that you can look forward to because their advice and what they have to say will carry a lot more credibility than me, which is just one person and my own life experience. So bear that in mind and let's get started. The first thing I'd like to say about trauma is that predominantly there are three types of trauma: acute trauma, chronic trauma, and complex trauma. Acute trauma results from one particular traumatic incident, maybe a car crash or very life-changing one incident that causes trauma. Chronic trauma is when you've been exposed to something that over a long period of time, things like domestic violence, or substance abuse. Maybe one of your parents or a relative has abused substance and you've grown up watching that and seeing the effects of that on family life and people around you and all of those sorts of things. So one particular issue, you being exposed to one issue over a long period of time results in chronic trauma. Now, complex trauma is a combination of things, and I feel that a lot of our parents, especially those that migrated from their homelands and left all their circle of friends, I truly believe that a lot of the immigrant parents actually have had complex trauma, which actually results from a combination of things, and one of which being cultural dislocation. That is also a cause of complex trauma. They basically left their entire life to provide a better life for us, and that is pretty hard. It's pretty hard to leave an entire civilization that you've been used to and basically plonk yourself in a completely different civilization as an adult. Now, that is pretty hard to adjust as an adult. So therefore, I feel like every single person at some point in their life would have had one of these trauma, and it is okay. And it doesn't make you any weak or any stronger, it just makes you human, and that we all need to find ways to deal with this in a proper way and just grow from it, really. Understanding the type of traumas really makes all the difference, especially to those around you who might be suffering. This is really important because if you understand the different types and what causes it and symptoms and all that, then it'll make it easier for you to be there for them. And when you feel like you're going through something like that, then you also will have a better awareness towards your own emotions and your life experiences. I touched base on how chronic trauma is something that I struggle with, and I believe that my siblings also struggle with. And the thing with chronic trauma, when you go through it, you don't actually realize the impacts of it. It's only until I left home and when it was my turn to go out into the world on my own and establish my own relationships on my own and basically start dating and all those things, that is when the demons came out from the chronic trauma that I never had the chance to fully deal with. Now, this is a very common thing amongst second generation South Asians and first generation if they move out of home, because when they grow up, they are never really given a chance to address these things fully and even understand these things fully. And when they go out into the world, facing it all on their own, all these things they never dealt with come out into the surface. And you basically impose your own fears and bad experiences and bad emotions that you've had in the past due to this trauma. You let them dictate how you're going to behave and how you're going to react to certain instances. I'm going to give you a very specific example using my own life experiences, and please bear in mind that I have gained permission from both my parents to talk about this publicly. So please don't come after me or my parents for that matter. I grew up around domestic violence, and it wasn't something, at the time, it didn't seem like the worst thing ever. Until I got into relationships, that is when I truly started seeing the impact of it, because every time a conflict came up in relationship, my first instinct isn't to try and resolve it. My first instinct is to just get out, leave. And that's because I grew up watching one of my parents abusing the other, and then the other person sort of trying to leave. None of them actually, at the very earlier on, none of them actually made the effort to come back and resolve. And so I was always around dysfunctional parental relationships. So therefore I was never exposed to having a very stable marital relationship, and therefore I did not know what that kind of relationship consists of or the amount of work it's required to sustain a healthy relationship, romantic relationship. So behavior is learned. So whether we like it or not, our children watch us, and how we react to certain things, they pick that up. And when they are exposed to similar circumstances and situations, they will remember how we responded to that, and they will reciprocate it, or they will repeat it. This is not the case for everything, but behavior, sometimes you'd be surprised how we learn our behavior and how we respond, especially to stressful situations where we just go into our default mode. We just go to something that's familiar, that we've grown up with, and we will just look at that familiar behavior that we had, and we will just copy it over here into the new situation that we're in. That is human, and it is okay to do that. Now, there's no point in always talking about problem. What can you do about it? First of all, I want you to go away and just have a think about these 3 types of trauma. I always have looked at the 3 types, and I would reflect back on different things and try to categorize. And then I'll always look at people around me, and you're not really judging them, you're trying to understand them. You're trying to understand what happened. So with one of my parents, when I started understanding, what sort of trauma I could have been through, and why it's impacting my adult life and my relationships in adult life, I also turned to my parents, who I was so resentful towards. But the moment I tried to understand myself, I tried to do the same thing towards one of my parents, and I realized that there is a really good chance that they were also exposed to a lot of trauma. Both my parents grew up without one of the parents, so they were already dead by the time they were children and into adulthood. So therefore, they only had one parent really growing up. That itself makes a big difference to how they would have perceived parental relationships and also romantic relationships. So the moment you try to understand your own life and what sort of traumatic instances that could have contributed to your current fears and your reactions and decisions, then you would start to practice the same thing towards the people that you love and are around you. And that itself is the big thing that we all need to start doing, is identify which of the trauma types that is relevant to you and to the people around you. So that is for today. So I want you to go and think about it. Think about each of these, and it could be a combination of all these to you and to the people that you love. And once you try to understand yourself, you can spread that understanding to other people around you. And once you spread that understanding around you, you don't villainize them so much. And I always fall into the trap of villainizing people that I feel really pissed off about. But the moment, like my husband always reminds me, you know, you're just villainizing people, you're villainizing people. So I always stop. And it's really good to have someone like that around you to remind you when you are villainizing people unnecessarily. And it's really important to take the time to understand yourself so that you can humanize other people as well. So please go away, think about this, and let me know. You don't have to comment underneath because obviously these things are quite personal. However, I would love to hear your thoughts on private message. You can come to my Instagram, which is in the description box below, and you can private message me. I get messages all the time, which is the reason why I started this journey anyway. So please feel free to message me your thoughts and what you think, you know, the type of trauma that could have impacted your life and your parents, your partners, your siblings, all those things. So please think about it. Awareness begins with understanding. I truly think that not every day we're going to be understanding, no, but we can be actively making the conscious effort to be understanding, I think. Anyway, that's enough rambling for today. I hope this was useful. If you liked this, please come back for more. Next Monday I'll have another mental health topic in place, and who knows, maybe in 2 weeks time I might have a professional on board. I don't know. So please hit that subscribe button below, and so that we can get to know each other more and have a great week ahead, you know, because you are worth it. You're worthy of every good thing in the world. Have a great week. Bye for now.